you, Em. And first of all, can I thank also the NAS Foundation for inviting me here. I think it's very important. We all appreciate the great work that you guys are doing, certainly bringing people to the fore. And it's really important for young people that we grasp the metal, as it were. Too often young people, and I'm sad to say, especially young women, those from BAME communities are held back. That's a sad fact, but that has to change. It has to change because women play an incredible role in our lives, and certainly we need more women leaders, and we need certainly younger women to rise to the top as well. I know it was harder for my predecessors than it has been for me, and certainly as we go forward, I want to make sure I leave a legacy. It's easier for the next generation when they come to the fore, because the next generation, we've got to get them ready now. They can't be facing the same problems, the same issues, the racism that perhaps I faced as a kid growing up. So my responsibility is to make it easier for the next generation as they come forward, and certainly make sure that if anything from my life, my story, people can learn the lessons. The lessons I always try and teach my children is that if you can learn from other people's mistakes, then you don't feel the pain of them. And certainly I'm hoping that other people can learn from some of the mistakes that I've made and some of the issues I have faced. And it's really important. I think the story begins 1970. I know I was a young lad, 7 years old, in a village, rural village in the Punjab. And then the next day I'm on a plane, and then I'm in England. And a few days later, I go to Goodmayes Primary Infant School. Goodmayes Infant School, where I started my education. Can you imagine a world where suddenly, and this is so true as a child, where in a village where there's no TV, because TVs were very, very rare, even in the UK at the time. But imagine coming from a village and then suddenly seeing everybody, barring one or two people, are white, and you can't speak the language. They're not speaking what you're used to, and suddenly your friends aren't there. And in those early years, I'm held back because my English skills were very poor. Well, they were non-existent, and held back, but only for a few years later to be moved forward, more forward than perhaps my peers. But, you know, coming from an immigrant family, a poor family, and certainly moving into the UK, going to school and facing the issues that we had in the 1970s, issues of blatant racism, name calling was quite common. You could not come from school to home without being called something or another. It was a very volatile, very risky sort of world to be in. And of course, you come through that because you have strong roots, you have strong family, and you have strong friends. And of course, those friends, I can name every single one that I had in my junior school going through into my secondary school, and about 5, 6 of them I still keep in touch with today. And that is the upbringing of a good family network, good strong network around you, and those friends eventually become your family because you spend most of your time here with them. And of course, we moved here as a poor family for a better beginning, for a better life, for a better education. And I think England is an amazing country which gives you that, which gives you the education, gives you the chances. I mean, which country in the world allows an immigrant, first generation, because I moved here in 1970, to be a leader of a London council. I think it's a great city. I'm very proud to be in England. You know, and I know that when I go back to India, they don't call me Indian. You're English, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that because this is my culture. This is my roots. This is where I raised my family. This is where my children went to school. This is where I went to school. This is where my brother and sister, both older than me, went to school. And we all raise our family, and we all live here within half a mile of Seven Kings Station, either north, south, or southeast. And this is our home. It's a great place. Now, I was fortunate because certainly I was fortunate I came at the right time. I was fortunate I got a good education. I was fortunate I took those chances. And when I was going off the tracks, I was fortunate I had parents who put me on track. And I think if there are any children out there who are thinking education is for someone else, well, I said that. And my father took me to work with him in his factory. And it took me about a day to realize I will never be able to do this for the rest of my life. And I went back to education. I was so glad I did. I eventually graduated from the London School of Economics. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that certainly my parents had the belief and certainly had the trust in me to be able to go to an institution like that. And I think it's a humbling experience coming from a background where I'd rush home from school because we had to help my mother make ties. She sewed neckties all day long. And my job, my brother's job, my sister's job was to actually do all the neckties. And I could, I could have been a professional machinist if I so wanted, but that wasn't what I was being trained for or geared up for by my parents. So certainly I think coming from those kind of backgrounds, you learn to appreciate the value of life, the value of money, the value of friendship, because certainly we did this together. And of course, certainly I've got uncles and aunts, and if somebody had too much work, we rushed off to their houses to help them finish off their ties. And it was a great network, and it was nice to be valued at a very early age. But of course, running a family, running a business was very, very difficult. And but it does mean it teaches you all those very valuable life skills. As young people out there who are looking at what perhaps perceived to be what I've achieved, I think it's hard work, and always believe that you'll be able to do those things, and certainly look into the mirror and imagine you could be that Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates or a politician or anything you want to be, or a sports person. And of course, all those roles are people who dare to believe. And I think that's where we need to start this conversation. In politics, I think I came into it because of the belief that I believe in seva, which is selfless public service, to make sure that if you can feed yourselves, then you can help feed others. If you can get a good life for yourself, you can get a good life for others. And I'm really grateful for my colleague, Councillor Parkash, who certainly nurtured me in my early years, told me all the things I needed to know, and kept me on the straight and narrow. And for his help, I'll always be indebted. And certainly what I want to do is make sure that the next generation of politicians, next generation of public servants in the UK, in Redbridge, we can bring them on board. And of course, it's been a really proud moment where somebody I spoke to, I remember sort of in 2011, a year after I became a councillor. And of course, I was told we couldn't win the ward of Mayfield. We could never win it. And from a deficit of 25 votes, we turned it into a surplus of 1,700 votes. And it's now the safest ward in the whole of Redbridge. And of course, they said that we couldn't do it, and we did it. And then I remember going on a course, Opposition to Power, in 2012, 2013, with a person who was running the course by the name of David Evans. You may know him. He's now the General Secretary of the Labour Party. And he asked us a question on the last day. He said, "Are you guys going to win?" And he turned to me and I said, "Yeah, we're going to win." And he said to me, he said, "Well, Jas, it's never been done before, because Labour have never won in Redbridge ever in its history of the London boroughs." And my answer to David was, "Well, I've never tried before, David, so it's me. We're going to win." And he smiled, and he goes, I'll hold you to that. And certainly, I was surrounded by very good people. Stephen Cowans, who's now the leader of Hammersmith and Fulham, Tony Newman, who's the leader of Croydon, John Biggs, who's the leader of the mayor of Tower Hamlets. And of course, all those people, they were on a firmer footing than me, and we'd never done this. And of course, in 2014, it was a very, very proud moment to have done something which no other Labour leader had done, and no other Labour administration had done. And of course, it didn't just come by magic. It came by surrounding yourself with good people, making sure that you had a good message, and then working very, very hard. And working so hard that suddenly the Labour Party keeps a tab on how much work you do. And I remember sort of going into the 2014 election armed with a really good person around me, a guy called Matt Godin, who was our organizer, and making sure that we did every bit of work. You know, it's like if you're going to go into a race, if you're going to go into a match, if you're going to go into an election, make sure you're the best prepared. Make sure you've left no stone unturned. Make sure you do everything that it takes. And that's why for the 6 weeks leading up to the 2014 election, Redbridge Labour were the #1 door knockers in the whole of the country for Labour. We knocked on more doors, we canvassed more opinions, we listened to people, because listening was the important thing, so that when we were an administration, we could deliver on the promises. And of course, we had a manifesto which we published and which I ticked off during the 4 years and delivered everything we possibly had promised. And of course, coming into 2018, we couldn't blame anybody else. And what we had to then do was to make sure we stand on our record. And of course, standing on our record meant that we won 51 councillors. So the lesson from there is that if you're going to do something, do it with all your heart. If you're going to promise somebody something, then deliver it. And if you're going to do all those things, you're going to have to do one thing, and that is work your socks off. And I'm proud when people say to me regularly, but you never sleep. I do. It's just that I will fit the sleep in. And if something needs doing, you've got to find a way of doing it. And you've got to find a way of doing it quickly. And of course, getting a team around you, because it's not a one-man show. This is getting a group of people who you believe in, and those people deliver. You know, I've got a really good cabinet around me, and trusting that cabinet to do the things that you've asked them to do and for them to deliver. It's really important. And those are sort of life lessons that you take from very early on. Remember, I started off with sewing neckties, victim of racist abuse, being called a name every single day, and then being told you have to be held back, and then find yourself going to one of the best universities in the world, and then becoming the first Sikh leader of a London council. All those things didn't happen by magic. They happened by hard work. If you dare to dream, you've got to do the work for it. And sometimes you'll take knocks in life and you've got to get up. There's a very famous saying, it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up, dust yourself down, and you go forward with straight ambition to be able to deliver. And if you can do that, then you will go far in life. And that's why I really say to people, if you are listening in, especially as a youngster, make sure you have your dreams, write them down, and then work your socks off to make sure that you can certainly deliver and be happy in your life, and deliver for not just yourself, but for everybody around you, and make sure that any gaps that you see, that you can fill them. And of course, I'll never forget a councillor who I won't name, who came to me later on, years later. He said, Jas, I remember meeting you when you first came online, and I thought you was an arrogant bleep, bleep, bleep. He goes, I didn't even vote for you to be leader, but I'm not you know, I'm not always right, but I'm not often wrong. So it's like absolute. He goes, I've never been more wrong in my life, Jas, and that means a lot to me. Somebody coming up to me years later saying that I didn't think you would be able to do it. I didn't think you was the person, but now we have delivered, and that is important for us. That is important for us as human beings. That's important because people do need to be told that they're doing something right, and that comes from the support network. And certainly I would say to people that winning the 2014 election was a watermark moment for Redbridge Labour, and 2018 was certainly raising that watermark to a level where, you know, having won the most number of councillors in any council in the country for your party. And of course, we look at that with pride. It was done with coordination, hard work, and certainly targeting and making sure you listen to people's concerns. And what we're trying to do is pushing forward the ambitions and making sure that pushing back the barriers. And those barriers will be there. If you're a woman, sad to say, there will be barriers. If you're BAME, sad to say, there will be barriers. And generally, if you're a human being, there'll be people putting barriers in your way. How you actually go past those barriers, you elevate yourself above that. And you've got to have that strong, firm foundation in yourself. I was lucky. I had a strong family. I was lucky I had a strong support network. I was lucky. Actually, luck doesn't come into it, does it? Because all those things were strong family, strong network, strong associates, strong organization, strong labor colleagues. And when you put that team together, you've got to work, and you've got to work hard, and you've got to keep pushing and fighting to make life easier for other people. And that's what we're doing. My aim in life is now to make sure that certainly life gets easier for my constituents. It hasn't been easy. If you think about it, I came in when the government took all the money away, austerity. We're £200 million less off as a council, but we're delivering more. And then the COVID-19 struck. And of course, we all wish COVID-19 hadn't come along. We all wish we were safe as we were back in December when no one had ever heard of COVID-19. But certainly, as I keep saying to the people around me, I'm glad it's us who are in administration, because certainly we can do more for our residents because we are local residents. Having lived 50 years of my life within the Seven Kings area, making sure that I make life easier for my constituents, to make a future brighter for my people, my residents, and certainly for people who are going to come in after me, because I don't want them to face the same barriers I faced, and I want all of you to succeed. Thank you.